Hey guys, welcome back to Oxidation and Carbonation of Bottled Cocktails. This is probably the third episode. Thought I'd just give you a little update about where I am. So the cocktail that we looked at over the past two episodes, the purpose of me creating that was to submit it for the first round of World Class 2018. That's a cocktail competition run by Diageo Spirits. It's a worldwide cocktail competition run at different times throughout the world. And in Australia, it's just wrapped up its first round submissions. The first round submission calling, and I'll show you the information here. As always, I've created a nice little organised folder. We're looking at World Class Trade Presenter 2018. This is a document they sent out which basically explained the first and second rounds, okay? So it's hard to read because it's quite large. Bring it out a bit. It's a little bit of information, introduction, the prize, rounds and criteria, timeline, how to enter, terms and conditions, okay? So basically I read through this and most of it explains the first round and then a little bit at the end explains the second round in the terms and conditions. So, basically for the first round, you need to use one of these products and create either a cocktail that had to do with home or away. The underlying theme was Wanderlust, okay? So if you create a home cocktail, you need to create a cocktail inspired by Australia, because you are in Australia. And they wanted to draw from food and drink experiences that connect you to our diverse and vast land. It also says here, take inspiration from local flavours and native ingredients. You could either pick home or you could pick away. Away was create a cocktail inspired by travelling overseas destination. Now, it's basically the same thing, just not Australian, something different. Okay? So they gave you a little timeline. It says here the first round of entry finishes the 12th of February is the submission deadline. You create your cocktail using these brands. You go to a studio tour, which is basically a masterclass where they teach you about how bartenders think and create. And then on the 19th of February, they announce the top 100 finalists. So there was 500 entries this year, and they picked the top 100 finalists the other day. And now, most recently, these are the second round conditions from the 19th of February to 24th of March. It's currently the 26th of February. You need to break the mold. They'll ask you to challenge conventions and build flavour through alternative and non-traditional processes. So when I first heard about World Class, I was travelling on a train from Amsterdam to Paris. I was there for another cocktail competition. And I thought, what better time to come up with a nice cocktail to do with being away from home. I was going to go under the category away, than being at the furthest point from Australia I've ever been before. So I sat down on the train, had a few hours to kill, so I wrote down a nice story that I thought would really help me seal the deal for this cocktail competition. So I then went back and created a folder called First Round Submissions. Now, a little tip that they gave us during the studios, the masterclass that they gave us, is you can only enter one cocktail for each category. So you can enter an away and a home cocktail. Basically doubles your chances of winning, doubles the amount of submissions you can make, so it doubles your chances of winning. So I did create one for home and away. I ended up creating this one for home. Get out of that real quick. I called it The Changing Charles. It's inspired by the European countrymen that explored the country 300 years ago. I ended up creating a cocktail. The plan was to create a cocktail with Tanqueray that had been dealcoholized. Add to that acidified native lemon myrtle syrup, chilled distilled water, and garnish that with an aromatic blade of lemongrass. This is the photo here. So I was taken at my place of work. What I regret about this photo is the actual cocktail design, the way the cocktail looks. It was meant to be very effervescent and very clean and crisp. It ended up coming out a little bit too plain and boring. For my away cocktail, we'll open this again. While I was away, I sort of used my story of being in the country and the reasons there as sort of an inspiration to create this cocktail. So the cocktail is called Three Tulips, each tulip representing a different treasure of the Netherlands. And I've created a cocktail that uses those three things. So I've used the tulip, I've used the Ketel One vodka, and I've used cheese. My cocktail called the Three Tulips. It's a direct reflection on my experience there. It's basically a twist on a Ramos gin fizz, where instead of gin, we use the pink tulip vodka. Instead of the heavy cream, we use Gouda cheese reduced whey, which is something something that was homemade. So this is the photo for my away cocktail, the Three Tulips. Both of those were submitted, and on the 19th of February I got a phone call saying, congratulations, you've made it to the top 100. I inquired, I was like, which cocktail did it? And they said the Three Tulips did, which I was pretty pleased with. But from here, going back to the World Trade Presenter, we've got until the 24th of March, which is just under 1 month away, to create a new cocktail that will break the mold. Now, Before I submitted the 2 cocktails, I had the idea of doing the bottle cocktails with oxidation and neutralization. And I spoke to one of the reps, the person who hosted the masterclass, and I didn't tell her exactly what I was doing, but I said, it's taking up so much time, it's so hard, I'm focusing all my efforts on the first round to create a beautiful cocktail, revolutionary cocktail. And she goes, don't forget the second round is break the mold. So you don't want to go too hard on the first round. You want something that will tell the judges that you know what you're doing when it comes to creating cocktails, and you know how to market a cocktail, you know how to take a pretty photo of it, and you know how to talk about it. So that was about a week before submissions closed. I was like, crap, went back to the drawing board and created the 2 cocktails I just showed you. Now let's break the mold. Now we've got the time to create something a bit different and challenge conventions and create flavour through, as they say here, alternative or non-traditional processes. The entrant will be required to produce their own inspired top 100 cocktail using one of Diageo's products listed below and not contain more than 2 standard drinks. Johnnie Walker Batch Espresso Roasted Blend, or Johnnie Walker Batch Rum Cask Finished Blended Scotch Whisky. So we've got a limited amount of time before the submissions need to be entered. So you'll need to submit the entry by the 11th of March. So that's different to what a colour photo of the top 100 cocktail must also be uploaded. That's different to this here, 24th of March. So I feel as though there's going to be extra conditions on top of that, which I'm going to speak with her about on Tuesday. But because this is on the 11th of March, I really need to jump on this oxidation and neutralization process and get it done. So I'm going to go out there and find a way to speed it up. The last videos were me dealing with Tanqueray London Dry Gin, and I picked that because I was going to use that I did use that in the end for my home cocktail, but now sort of plans have changed. I need to use this Johnnie Walker, and I need to do it quickly. So I'm going to try and figure out a way to speed up the process. Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back. So it turns out that the cocktail competition I'd like to enter and use this bottled cocktail, this 0 ABV oxidized carbonated cocktail, is due in a few weeks. So I don't really have time to really wait for the gin to oxidize. So I've decided to start again, and I've decided to do a method that hopefully inspires oxidation a lot faster. The actual spirit used is Johnnie Walker rum cask finish, so I've decided to use that. That's what we've got here. You'll see bubbling away, we have roughly 154 mils of Johnnie Walker Caribbean cask or rum cask finish scotch with 546 mils of standard water. I've connected a aquarium pump, which I just bought for $20 from my local aquarium store. That connects to a power outlet just down there, and that connects to a pipe which then spirals into the bottom of this glass jar with a lot of pinholes in it. So you can see it seems to be working quite well. We've got a lot of air being pumped through the liquid, and the idea being that oxygen, this will speed up the oxidation from the ethanol, hopefully turn it to vinegar within hopefully a week, and if not, I'm back to square one. I've got to come up with a new cocktail. So I've just put it on last night, been going for the day. Seems to still be working pretty well after one day. There's no liquid seeping back into the tube and into the machine. I've got it covered with a little bit of paper towel and rubber band just to keep any nasties out. You'll see quite a lot. It doesn't seem to be that vigorous in terms of the bubbling, but quite a lot of it splashes up the side of the container here. If I fill the top, it's not too moist, it's not too bad. So I don't think it's going up too high anyway, but yeah, so we'll check back in this in about a week. Oh, you'll see as well in the middle we've got just a little glass, a piece of, they call it a glass glob, that's been called. It's just basically a paperweight just to help keep the pipe down, so you can pretty much use anything you'd like. But yeah, we'll check back in it in a week or so, and hopefully the acidity's risen. Now, my original plan was to convert all the ethanol into vinegar, into ethanoic acid and vinegar, and then transform most of that acid into, or neutralize most of it. My plan's probably going to change. I don't want to, well, the idea behind that would be I'd create a 0 ABV cocktail. I don't think I'll have the time, and I don't think it's as strong as a focus as it should be in the cocktail competition this time. So I'm going to convert a lot of the ethanol and reduce the ABV into vinegar, but we won't do it all. Tune in next week, guys, and we'll see how this turns out.